What's good, y'all? Rich Sosa back in a building with another banger. Now, first things first, before we get started today, I gotta go ahead and say thank God for another day and another opportunity. Now, as y'all can see from the looks of the title and the screen, today I'm gonna be bringing y'all a very special build today, and I'm gonna be calling it the one-of-a-kind shot creator Ja Morant build. And with this one today, we're gonna be able to get a total of a 103 badge count when it comes down to season 6. But when it comes down to the actual breakdown of the animations and abilities today, with this build, we're going to be able to get elite dribble moves and every single dribble package, pro contact dunks, and then once we get into the breakdown of our attributes, we're going to be able to reach a 100 plus when it comes down to our driving layup and dunk, 3-point mid-range shot, and then when it comes down to the defensive end, we're going to be able to get an 85 plus when it comes down to our steal and perimeter defense. Now, this is actually the most badges that you can use on a build when it comes down to a non-meta point guard. So if it's your first time coming through, be sure to hit that sub button if you're new, smash that like button, turn on post notifications to be a part of the Rich family, and last but definitely not least, comment down TG for thank God and where you're tuning in from, and I most definitely will be sure to hit y'all back with a response. So as we get started with the creation of today's build, let's get started by putting it under the point guard position. Now, if you want to, you can change this, but I'm telling y'all, you may get a different build name and even different badges when it comes down to the layout. As for when it comes down to today's height, I'm going to go with 6'1". Then when it comes down to our weight, I'm going to go with 192. And then as for the wingspan, this is really optional, but I'm going to go ahead and put this to 6'7". Now for the body shape, I like defined, and from here, we're all set to move forward and get started with the breakdown of the attributes. And the first area that I want to get started with is going to be the physicals. So when it comes down to our speed, I decided to go ahead and put this to a minimum of a 75. Now the most important thing when it comes down to the physicals is definitely going to be that 90 acceleration. Now when it comes down to our vertical, I'm going to go with the 75. And then as for that stamina, bring this all the way up to a 95. And right there we should be set to go and move forward. Now, before we talk about the defensive end, one thing that you should all take into consideration is going to be the +4 from your Gatorade facility workouts or the gym rat badge. Now, when it comes down to the defensive end, I'm going to go with a maxed out defensive rebound. Same thing when it comes down to our block. Now, when it comes down to our steal, I decided to go ahead and move this all the way up to an 85. And then as for when it comes down to the perimeter defense, put this to an 80. And right there, we're going to be able to maintain a total of 22 defensive badges, and you can go ahead and put that interior defense up to a 60. Now, some of the badges that I like are going to be Box Out Beast, Chase Down Artist with the Rebound Chaser, but then we're also able to get Challenger, Glove, Interceptor, a lot of good badges when it comes down to our defensive end. Now, moving on to the playmaking, I'm going to go with the Speed with Ball and put this all the way up to a 79. As for our ball handle, go with the 92 to meet that threshold to unlock every single dribble package. And then as for the pass accuracy, I'm going to go with an 84. And right there we get a total of 24 playmaking badges. Now the ones that I'm looking at are going to be Vice Grip. We also are able to get Quick First Step, Unpluckable, Hyperdrive on Hall of Fame. And then for Tier 3, I think all 4 of these badges make a good layout when it comes down to the playmaking. Now from here, if you want to make any adjustments towards this build, go ahead and do so, but let's get started with the shooting. So for the mid-range shot, I decided to go ahead and move this up to an 81. And then for our three-pointer, put this to a 92 for a total of 25 shooting badges. Now to be sure that you're safe to take this build into any game mode, put that free throw up to a 75. And I think we have a good layout to start with, but if you wanted to raise it higher, you could even move it up to an 82. Now, as far as when it comes down to these badges, every single one out of Tier 1 is going to be on the Hall of Fame tier. Then when it comes down to Tier 2, I really like Space Creator and Amp. But then we're also able to get Agent 3 and Limitless Range. Now, honestly, when it comes down to this build on the offensive end, I think it's one of the most complete point guards, especially for a non-meta. Now for the finishing, go ahead and put your driving dunk up to an 87. 81 driving layup, go ahead and put the rest into our close shot. And right there, we're going to reach a total of 21 badges. Now, something to take into consideration when it comes down to the badge count. Look, we get a +4 from my career, but then since we are going into Season 6 on Friday, we're going to be able to have the potential to get at least anywhere from 1 to 6 extra badges on top of my career. So really take that into consideration. This build has the potential of 10 extra badges, depending on how well you have grinded out each season up to this point. But look, when it comes down to these badges, I really like Pro Touch and Hall of Fame, also Posterizer, Slithery. Now, when it comes down to being a 6'1" point guard, I think that this is one of the most complete builds that you can possibly make. Now, something that I do want to throw out to y'all. Take into consideration the +5 that we're going to be able to get when it comes down to buying our own boost. But then on top of all that, if you do decide to run with a teammate that has on Hall of Fame floor general, we're also going to be able to get an additional +4. Then the better we play, our stats are also gradually going to raise. And then once you take into account the +10 from our 2 separate takeovers, you have the potential to get a +20 towards 2 separate areas on this build. And I really think that that's something everybody should be thinking about. Now, when it comes down to this build, as far as a whole, I think we're going to be able to hold our own not only on the offensive end, but most definitely on the defense, especially with that high steal rating. And I think the block is going to be just perfect. Now, if you want to make any adjustments, now's going to be the time to do so. But look, I'm telling y'all, this is one of the best badge layouts that you're going to be able to make and use, especially when it comes down to the badge count. So as you can see with these takeovers, we get the slashing, shot creating, sharpshooting, and the playmaking. Now, however you decide to go about the making of this build, for my best interest, the first one that I would go with would be the slashing, finishing moves. Now, the second one, I would debate between ankle breaking shots, shot creating takeover, and limitless range, sharpshooting. Now, I can definitely see both ways of why people would pick between these two. But if you want to be the best overall, I really believe that you can go with double slashing takeover, or go ahead and throw in at least one of the shot creating. Now, this is how I'm going to go about it today. Feel free to make any changes to your own liking. From here, let's go ahead and check out the build to make sure that we made it correctly together. And if you followed along, we should be getting these 3 comparisons. And as y'all can see together, we have created the one-of-a-kind shot creator build in NBA 2K23 on next gen. Now, I just want to say thank you to those of y'all who did make it to the very end, and I really do appreciate y'all's support. But before we get out of here, if it was your first time coming through, be sure to hit that sub button if you're new, smash that like button, turn on post notifications to be a part of the Rich family, and last but definitely not least, comment down TG for thank God and where you're tuning in from, and I most definitely will be sure to hit y'all back with a response. And with all that being said though, I got one last thing to say. Rich out.